Kirsty, can you tell us a bit about what you're doing to enhance the biodiversity on the farm?
Because of where we are, it's quite a windy place, so we have got a lot of trees and hedges to provide some shelter for our sheep and cattle, but they also provide a safe place for the insects and wildlife. So between each field we usually have hedges round the fields, and that creates a corridor between each of the fields that the insects and animals can move along quite safely.
And I can also see that as well as the grasslands having some places for biodiversity, your arable crops have got some things in place as well.
We have what we call buffer zones round our crop fields, which is a 3-metre strip round the edge which is left wild. It's a good habitat for wildlife, and it stops us from polluting watercourses with any fertilisers or pesticides that we use on our crops.
So can you tell me about some of the other wildlife that's on the farm?
Yeah, we've got a lot of deer, badgers, foxes,
Crows, seagulls, rabbits, hares, mice, all your usual.
jackdaws, starlings, a lot of different kind of birds.
Yeah, we've seen lots of wildlife since we've been here today, so we're providing an excellent habitat for all these animals. How does the weather affect the farm?
The whole farm revolves around the weather the whole year. It plays a massive part in what we can do on the farm. For example, the hill ground, it's too wet up here. We couldn't grow crops or fruit or anything. So it's got to be sheep and cattle, and of course they're living outside, so any change in the weather changes what we have to feed them or what shelter we have to provide for them. So in the winter we bring the cows inside and you look after them all inside.
They're inside for about 5 months, depends on the weather, how bad it gets when we bring them in and when they get let out as soon as it dries up, April, May time. They're fed all through the winter. In June and July we do what we call silage, so we grow the grass a lot longer and we cut it all, we bale some, we store some in a pit, and it turns into silage, and then that's what the cows are fed over winter to keep them going.
So if the sheep are outside and it's bad weather, we've got to take the silage out to them, and obviously if it snows that makes things really difficult because you've got to dig out through a path through the snow for the sheep and to get some food to them. Throughout the summer, if we get bad weather then, that affects the feed that we're trying to grow to feed them in the winter. So if you have a really wet summer and we get a bad harvest, we don't have as much to feed them. But if you have a really great summer, you've got more than enough, it could last you for a couple of years. So it massively affects what we do on the farm, the changes in the weather.
And we've got a lovely day here, but I'm sure it's not the same in a snowy day in February. And the weather patterns, have you noticed that they've changed over the time that you've been on the farm?
Definitely, yeah. It's a lot more extreme now. So my dad always says you used to be able to plan your year of farming because you knew what the weather would do, but now it changes so quickly and so extreme. And you see at lambing time, where we should be getting sunshine in May, you can be getting snow now, and that is not very good for our wee lambs. So it plays a massive role, but it changes so quickly, and the winters are more extreme. You're getting big snow drifts. It makes it really hard to get out to the fields to feed the animals, and when the weather does get so extreme, it makes so much more work for us, and your days are longer and harder. But in the summer, it's also been a lot hotter. We've seen times we're running out of water at some parts of the farm. You can only use certain fields because the water supply dries up. The grass starts to burn off when it's too hot as well. So yeah, it does change very extreme at the moment.